We're all coming back full circle. Not for me, for my fiance. Okay,
There you go.
we
Now
are
remember,
live. Oh my god.
Thereby saying that you mentioned her name again. So you're saying just the other day when I was talking to Helena, because she's my best friend. Anyway, I'm sorry. Shall we? Right. Oh, it's me, isn't it? This is Literary Roadhouse. One short story once a week. My name's Gerald.
my name is Andy.
And I'm an ace.
This week we've been reading Chicken Flavoured and Lemon Scented by Katherine Heiny. If you haven't read the story yet, pause the podcast, go read it. It's about 7,000 words, but it doesn't take too long. And come back. This story concerns Colette, a driving examiner in Maryland, USA. We learn about her co-workers and the way they share out the examinees based on the type of people they are. No one liked to take old people, nor teenagers, and the reasons are explained. Vic deals with aggressive people by bullying and being a tyrant. Greg's style is loose but efficient and is good for those on a tight timescale. Colette takes those nervous types who shred tissues and teenagers who are so anxious they shake. Alejandro, the newest examiner to join them and the most handsome to Colette's eyes, takes the entitled and the private school kids. Into this comfortable lifestyle comes a speed bump when Colette stays behind at an office party and her future is changed forever. Tease.
A speed bump. Get it?
Yes. Speed bump. Spoiler. Don't spoil it.
We already told them to pause the podcast and read the story. Also, we're about to discuss it. I feel like the whole we're in spoiler town. Have I been misunderstanding that this entire time?
No. I never do a spoiler-free summary. This is a Gerald thing, which is fine.
I was at a quiz on Friday where there was a question about Bambi, and the guy said, and it always upsets me when his mother dies. And I said, spoiler, because some people might not have seen it anyway.
Yeah,
up, Gerald.
We were going to see the Peter Jackson King Kong once. And I said something about the monkey dying. And my friend was like, we're on the way to see the movie, Andy.
I'm going to keep all of this in the podcast so that people can see that some days our focus is so... we just want a vibe. We started this podcast late because we were talking about Cillian Murphy. I don't even know if I said that right.
Yep.
I think it's Killian, isn't it? Killian?
But he looks silly, so...
He does not look silly. That was what the debate was. Okay, you know what? Actually, Andy, I have a better question.
Oh, right.
What did you think of this story?
Man, I like this story.
Did you?
Yeah. It was
okay.
This is really cleverly written. I liked it a lot. Also, Greg is #goals. I want to be Greg so much.
With little tiny sandwiches and cupcakes
and just sit there doing your... I mean, I wouldn't do cryptograms. I'd probably do like Sudokus or crosswords, but same thing.
Yes. And I love the bit where she said he looks like a retired history teacher and is in fact a retired history teacher. And that's nice. I like that bit.
Okay. Gerald, did you like the story?
I liked it a lot. I liked it. Yes, there was lots to like. I missed all the pointers about her being pregnant until I found out she was pregnant, and then I read it again. I thought,
I had that same feeling, except the first time through, I sort of did have a little like, oh, that's like a pregnancy thing, but this is just Vic being gross. This is just Vic being gross. And it's like, oh no, Vic is gross and observant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sudden need to pee during a test, the intense fear of eating salmon, breasts enlarging, and so on and so forth. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And he's like really focused because she's 2 at most 3 months out of becoming pregnant, and he's there like, your boobs are getting bigger every day, and it's like, you're really, I mean, it's not that drastic in the first trimester if I recall correctly, like, so you're really
Vic's
paying attention.
In.
He is tuned in every day.
What else does he have to do?
Advanced calculus on his coworker's chest every day.
Right.
Good old Vic. Yes, it's a bit of a Neanderthal, isn't he, Vic? Even when he gets a chocolate because she doesn't want coffee, he said it'll be 280. just when she just thought, oh, he's nice. No, he's not.
Oh my god. Vic, I think, was my favorite character for some reason. He's the worst. But he's the most interesting. Like, he's a bully. He's disgusting. She has to sometimes pick the pretty vulnerable girls because she's afraid of what will happen if she leaves him with Vic. Like, this man's the worst. But he's also just kind of like funny. I'd love to see a story of just like what his life is like outside of work. Like, what does he do? What are his hobbies? Yeah. And then he shows up at the Christmas party with a normal woman, Shelly, who's like, she seemed normal, so that maybe they weren't together that long. Like, would not be possible otherwise.
I like the fact he makes the examinees drive through the McDonald's drive-through for his coffee, which is probably a good test. You got to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, and also when she was saying that normally their Christmas party before Alejandro was just Buffalo Wild Wings order, and then he would go pick it up on one of the test taker drive-thrus. And sometimes he would bully the test taker into paying for the Buffalo Wild Wings for the office. Incredible. I'm telling you, Vic's the funniest character.
Yes. Yeah, he's the worst without being too bad. He's just yeah. It's just a bit obnoxious.
Though I'll say the story, I liked it, but there's something about it that felt a little like the main point of the story, which is like her obsession with this guy Alejandro, sleeps with him once, becomes pregnant, and is like by the end, I guess, decided to have the kid. That part was the least interesting. The most fun was the way she drew all of these characters very quickly, right? It was learning about Vic and Greg and all the different kinds of test takers and the mouths, like the people who work in jobs where you have to talk all the time, hairdressers, insurance salesmen that just don't shut up.
I love the rules. The rules rules apply obviously because they do in any sort of situation like that. There would be rules. We always create rules for that.
Yeah. And even just like Colette's the way, like, I don't think the way Colette sees herself is the way most people see her, which is true for a lot of people, but I think she's most people would say that there was something a little sad. She strikes me as a bit sad, right? But she doesn't think of herself that way, obviously. So you kind of have to see that. And the section that really reveals it is when she's lying about what she does in her free time to impress Alejandro. What she's doing on her free time is fine, I guess, but it's weird you're lying. Yeah. And she watches 90 Day Fiancé, which is fine, but
I think it's quite nice that the writer makes her quite a bland character because the other characters are so interesting. And I think I like Greg too. I think I like Greg.
Yeah, Greg's good.
Yeah.
And I think Alejandro kind of sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
He's not the worst, but he knew she's obsessed. Like when she stayed last and she's like, well, I better get going. Like he knew she's obsessed. If I let her stay for another drink, and then like takes off the next day. I think she's totally right about the cooling period thing, that it's just to like make sure she doesn't get her hopes up that this is going to be a relationship, and then comes back 2 days later and it's just like, hey, nothing's happening here. Okay, this woman's obsessed with you. It's been known. So he's not the worst ever, but like he's not as shiny as she thinks he is.
Yeah, I think so. So do we think Alejandro's not going to want to know anything about her pregnancy and the baby?
I think if she insisted, he might, in a sort of co-parenting friends kind of way, but not want to be with her romantically. But I think first he'll try to do the thing that sometimes happens where, and you'll see this like different media, movies and stuff, where like the guy will sort of wiggle just enough until the woman feels like it's her job to be like, oh, I know we didn't plan this, so it's my choice. So if you don't want to be involved, you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll just like squirm until he gets the permission slip. He's gonna try to get a permission slip first.
Yeah. I don't
think he'll be a dick about it, but he's going to be very squirmy. And I don't think Colette's the kind of person who's going to pin him down, so he'll get the permission slip.
Yeah, and she'll become a single mom. Yeah. And Greg and Vic will carry on being Greg and Vic.
And even if he does sort of agree to like co-parent as friends and stuff like that, like even if she does get that from him, I don't know how long it'll necessarily last. Maybe it kind of depends. He might get really into it and love the dad part of it, or he might meet someone else and then move across the country and just call on birthdays.
Yeah, I'm guessing the latter. Yeah, I don't think because he didn't. The way he tells that he's not interested was a roundabout way, so he didn't want to confront her directly and tell her straight away. So it seems like he'll be the yes, I'll help. Oh, of course, I'll help. And not really, and find a way to duck out of it. He's a very strange character. He's sort of likes everybody, and yet he's single. Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
I also like the line where Colette was like, "It might be easier if he had a girlfriend because it's harder to compete against the whole world." And it's like, Colette, honey, go to Match.com. Like, stop it.
She needs a girly chat with Anais just to put her right. Get out more. Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah, but I feel I had a lot of fun with this character. You guys already, I kind of already got through my questions, which was like character well drawn. Who's your favorite? Andy said Greg. I said Vic. Gerald, who's your favorite?
Yeah. I think the one I like most is Greg. I think probably the one who's most interesting is Vic.
I mean, I think that's true. I just really want to be Greg in my life.
Could be another career for you, Andy.
Nope. That's what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we talked about Colette because she's our narrator, but we get to see who she is beyond the way she describes herself, which we talked about, which, like, you know, I think she's a little bit more.
Yeah, because she tells Alejandro she goes walking when she doesn't, and she goes to salsa, but she doesn't, and just it's a bit sad to have to invent things to try and make yourself seem more interesting.
And he kind of negged her a little bit. We talked about negging last recording when he was like, "I'm surprised you watched 90 Day Fiance. You seem so like level-headed." It's like, bro, listen, trash reality TV is for everyone. So.
Yeah, we all like a bit of that.
Okay, and we talk about what might happen next for Colette and Alejandro. She could get lucky and he likes co-parenting as friends, or she'll be a single mom and maybe that's lucky too. We don't know enough about Alejandro to know what's the better outcome, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
I really liked the whole narrative voice. I liked the clever way. Okay, I'm going to say this like it's bad, but it was done so well. Forcibly shoehorning in driving related references into all the other parts. But really well.
Yeah.
You know, like because if you wink while you're doing it, that makes it funny.
Right. And this is it's in Colette's voice, right? So like Colette could be much more interesting. She does just need like a little pep talk. Like, you're clever, you're witty. I don't know what your hobbies are. Find one, invest in it.
As far as we know, her hobbies are work and obsessing about Alejandro. Like, that's everything she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. She goes to IKEA to buy things to make her house look pretty on the off chance that Alejandro ever comes over. They've never gone out. They've barely flirted. Like, yeah.
So, well, so maybe with this kid, she's going to be, obsessed about the kid and be a real cool mom. Makes a bunch of driving jokes.
Yes. Buys a little kid a toy car for his birthday, his first birthday.
My favorite line, I'm going to say it.
Go on.
Was, although, could a driving examiner's life accurately be called pedestrian? And when I got there, I was like, okay.
Very good.
Carry me through the rest of this story on the strength of that alone.
Yeah. Just the way she describes everyone.
Yes.
And the way that she does it, where it's like this montage of like test takers, but it's like from the perspective of who would choose who and why. That was very clever. And their different styles. I mean, we're all on board with analyzing driving examining styles, which is already like a skill in getting the reader to like, we don't care about this otherwise. We're not into the minutia of how one driving examiner versus another interacts with the test takers that much, right? As long as you're not an outlier and you're anywhere in the middle, you're fine. It's just funny.
Yeah, she does. He who wrote this? Katherine. Yeah, she. I think she does. It's just really funny little things, like the last one she takes out. The girl's name is Serafina because of course it is. just made me smile.
Yeah. Colette's funny.
Sort of
she should have a bit more confidence.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
Well, I feel like that's what we saw in the very end too, right? With Serafina's driving test. Colette's like making decisions now. Colette's doing things.
Yeah. And she wants to help this girl out.
Bodes well for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little anxious that the thing she wants to do, though, is contact someone at Planned Parenthood who's going to help Serafina break the news to her parents. And I'm like, you don't know enough about this family to know if that's a good or bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay.
Contact at Planned Parenthood
is good.
We'll give better advice.
Sure. Yeah. The Planned Parenthood would be like, let's do a little risk assessment.
Right. Let's loop in an expert here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else we want to say about the story?
I don't think so.
No. I mean, I want to say something else about this story.
Mm.
It's kind of a quick one. It's real good. I feel like we should talk more about it. Just generally, morally, I feel like we should discuss it more.
Yes.
But I don't have any content.
Yeah, because it's not really like an iceberg story.
Right.
No.
It's not like there's all these like layers of depth underneath. Like it's all presented in a very clear way, and it's funny, it's entertaining. There was a part in like the first half where, because I hadn't picked up that Vic's gross comments that are like, sounds like a pregnancy thing, but probably not, because I was like ignoring it because it's Vic, where I was like, what is the point of this? I was just a little like, I'm entertained, I'm not complaining, but I have no idea where this is going.
Right, but actually Vic's gross comments are insightful in driving the plot.
Yes.
And Colette dropped some clues too. There's one point where she says something about not having to do something for the next few months, or she stops taking coffee. Like, there's a few other ones, but those are real subtle. If you don't, Yeah,
and the fact that she says, how strange, the course of your whole life could hinge on your birthday or a neighborhood association or staying late at an office party. And I sort of ran over that one, and it didn't click that it's there for a purpose.
Yeah.
The course of your life changed.
Yeah. There's clues from Colette as well, but they're easy to think it's something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's right. It's a quick story that rewards a second read through also.
Yeah.
That's real well constructed.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of times the stories that reward a second read through are dense. Even if they're not long, they're dense and hard, and you got to unroll them.
And they're necessary to understand more about the story, aren't they? Whereas this one, it's more to pick up some of the little nuances that she'd slipped in. Yeah. Very good.
All right, we padded that out a little.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So, what would you guys rate this story?
I'll go 5. No, 5.5. 5.5. Really enjoyed it. Just didn't have that sort of kick-ass theme and layers that I would have liked. But 5.5, enjoyable.
We rate out of 6. Yep, just for in case anyone doesn't know. All right, Andy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a 5 also. I was thinking 4 in my head, but 4 is kind of lower than I was excited for.
It is correct. That's well.
Yep.
6 would be too high.
Yes,
but that's how I came up with the number 5.
Yes, because 4 doesn't sort of indicate the level of enthusiasm that you clearly have for this story.
Yeah, I'm also a 5 because 5 is what I give to every story that's really good, no regrets, loved it, well done, but it didn't make me scream from the rooftops.
Yeah, I think I was a 5, but I thought an extra half because of the witticisms and the clever things she wrote. So yeah. Randy doesn't give half marks, of course.
Super well, super quickly.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, what are we reading next week?
Oh, next week we are reading a story, and that story has a title, and that title is as follows: I Only Ever Shot at a Goat by Alex Capdeville.
Great. But before you go, tell us which driving test takers you'd select in our Facebook discussion group, the Literary Roadhouse Readers. If you prefer reading to taking driving tests, and I'm sure you do, then leave a review of Literary Roadhouse on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, or consider supporting us financially on patreon.com/Literary Roadhouse. Every bit helps. And as always, share this podcast with the bully who uses his wicked powers to get you free coffee. Until next time, read a good story.
Oh, very good.